Hello, and welcome to episode 361 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fans' weekly podcast of many topics, usually of the retro variety. And today we are here to discuss the Xeno series. A series that we've talked about a lot on the podcast recently. We've done episodes on Xeno Saga. We had a spoiler cast on Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So we spent a lot of time talking about Xeno lately, which makes me, and I think many of our other panelists, very happy. But today we are going to be doing another one of our draft episodes, which I'll talk more about what that means soon here. But it's going to be a draft episode for the entire Xeno series. But before we get into all that, I want to go ahead and introduce our panelists. We'll start with Izzy.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And Wes Iliff.
Hey, everybody.
And Tyler Trosper.
Hello.
And I suppose I should have mentioned this, but I'm your host, Zach Wilkerson. Solosi is not here today. I don't think he's quite played enough Xeno games to participate in the discussion. But, and I actually think that I'm guessing that I have actually played the fewest Xeno games of anyone on this list or on our podcast. But before we actually get to the draft itself and I explain the format, I want to talk a little bit about something that I guess we've talked about a lot recently, but I feel like it's good for someone who's just coming into this episode, which is just what our history with the Xeno series is. And Izzy and Tyler's, I know yours pretty well, but Wes, I don't know yours very well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with the Xeno series?
So my history kind of started when I was walking around, I think it was still a GameStop at the time, and saw an interesting little case with a cool looking anime dude on it, and was like, hey, I'll check this out. Turns out it was not long after Xenogears had released, and I was absolutely hooked. This is like just as I was getting into my mech era where I love anything with giant robots in it. So I absolutely fell in love, and as soon as I heard that there was a spiritual follow-up coming out with Xeno Saga, I immediately jumped on. Xenoblade eventually, veered just far enough out that it's not like quite so dedicated a space in my heart as the rest of the series, but still absolutely love it. The way that stories are told in this series are very unique and something I absolutely love.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed your write-up for our editors' picks for Game of the Year for Xenoblade 3. It's like the best game that I will take multiple breaks while playing.
Yes, absolutely. That's
And
the
as a
Xenoblade
person,
series as a whole for me.
as a person who had to beat Xenoblade 3 in like 9 days, I am jealous. It's a good way to play it.
That'd be a rough one to marathon.
Yeah, it was a lot. But summer break has its perks. So Tyler, why don't you tell us just a little bit about your history with the series, since I think some of the listeners probably know a little bit already.
Yeah, they're probably sick of me talking at this point. I got in it kind of weird. I jumped on Xenosaga first, and then I had heard about Xenogears from like forums, and I stepped back and played that, and then I've played a lot of other Xenoblade games and Monolith Soft games, and I just absolutely love the series. I have a podcast and have just done other fan projects in regards to like Xenosaga, and it's what I've based my personality on, and that's who I am. I am nothing without it.
You are a delightful human outside of Xeno, but you also worked for Operation Rainfall, and his podcast is called Xeno Chat. Everybody should go listen. I really enjoy listening to that podcast, even with games that I don't remember as well. And I have to avoid anything that might be Xenosaga related because I'm not quite through that series yet, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yes.
Izzy, what about you?
Yeah, so I came into the series as, back in the days of golden days of renting games. Here's Xenogears on the shelf. Have to rent that game. It has mecha, it has anime. Looked great. Unfortunately, it's, a long game, and rental times at my local rental place were not that long. So there was a lot of re-renting it to try and finish it. I never actually finished it at the time. I watched the opening video a lot because it's sick, and when you're renting something and you can't keep it for long, sometimes you do things like that. But I did beat it years later, when I think it was released as a PlayStation Classic on the on PlayStation Network, and that's when I finally beat it. Xeno Saga were also games I rented and never actually owned and played a lot of but never beat until later when I got a chance to play them again. Played the whole trilogy, loved that. Xenoblade was there from the beginning of the release in North America, which quite a bit later than Japanese release, as you hinted at with the Operation Rainfall stuff. So I have been there since the beginning, I guess, but I didn't finish a lot of the games at the time until later. But have always loved the series. Love mecha like everyone else on this panel. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, in my history, and again, I'll try to keep this brief because people are probably sick of hearing about it by now. But I played Xenogears basically on release. That's the only time I've played Xenogears. I don't remember Xenogears very well. I remember being very confused and struggling with it as a 12-year-old. But I remember liking it. But I don't remember it well enough. So just a hint to the other panelists: when we go through our draft, you might have a good shot at Xenogears characters if you're picking right after me. And then Xenosaga came out like right as I was at the end of high school and then like early college. And it was just sort of a time when I didn't play a lot of RPGs. And its reputation was not necessarily one that indicated that I was going to love it at the time. It turns out that I do love it. I played Xenosaga Episode 1, as some of you probably know for the podcast, very recently. And I really, really enjoyed Xenosaga once I kind of got into its very, shall we say, unique rhythm. um, and then I played Xenoblade 1 well after release, probably 2017, 2018. I absolutely loved it. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is an all-time favorite of mine. I've dumped way more hours into that than I should say. And Xenoblade 3, I reviewed for the site. I thought it was an all-timer, almost out of the gate. I've played a little bit of Cross as well, but I haven't spent a ton of time with it, maybe 10, 15 hours, because I was playing on too small of a TV at the time. I need to get back to it. I just bought a new TV the other day, so maybe now's the time. Thanks for covering all that. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be performing a draft, a fantasy draft. And if you're not as familiar or obsessed with fantasy football as I once was, and please, if you're not, don't get into it. It's not worth it. You might not be familiar with the way that drafts usually work. So the way that most drafts work is that it's sort of a snake. So we have 4 people who are going to be picking today. And then obviously the first pick will be the first pick, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the person who has the 4th pick will then get the 5th pick after that. And then we'll go back and forth until we filled out our rosters. And in terms of the categories for who we're drafting, if you're at home and want to think about who you might want for some of these categories, we're going to be drafting 1 protagonist, 1 antagonist or villain, which is a pretty loose category for us, 3 supporting characters, and that just means anybody who's doesn't fit into any other category, basically. We're going to draft 1 mech, which I can't remember who made that suggestion, but thank you. It's an excellent one. I think it was Wes. That was you, right, Wes?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'd suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent choice. Sort of inspired by our game of the year, we've started doing animal mascot characters, and we think that's perfect for Xeno. In fact, Riku and Manana from Xenoblade 3, I think, placed runner-up for us in this last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then a flex from any Monolith soft game. And I know that Monolith hasn't made that many games as a company where they are at the lead, but they have helped with a ton of games. So for our flex position, you can pick any character that has appeared in any game that Monolith has worked on or helped on. And if you go to the Wikipedia page, you will see that there are a lot of games. Some of them may be kind of surprising, but less surprising in some cases, like Breath of the Wild. I think most people know that Monolith helped with that. So yeah, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Perfect. So, and our draft order was determined before with maybe the most ridiculous thing I've ever done in my whole life, but that felt like a very Solosy thing to do. I won't even bother describing it to everyone right now. But Wes, you are up first, and you have the very first pick, which means you get your pick of anybody from the Xeno series or Monolith Soft in general.
Listen, somebody had to go first, which means somebody was going to get Cosmos, and that might as well be me.
Dang it. Oh, okay.
No
I
surprise.
almost felt guilty taking that one from you, Tyler.
It's okay. It's okay. I have other characters.
How can you resist? Cosmos is maybe the best character, at least for my money, in the entire series. Not just from like being incredibly valuable in a gameplay perspective, but her evolution, her dives into humanity versus that icy cold exterior that comes through for especially the first game. Seeing her bond with people and seeing how those bonds kind of change her over time. She's amazing. She's an incredible character design no matter which game you take her from. I don't know. Cosmos is an obvious choice, right?
Yes. Congratulations.
I was so excited when I saw I was first.
There wasn't any chance I was going to take Cosmos, only because I knew that if I didn't have the first pick, I wasn't going to get Cosmos, right? But also, I've only played the first Xenosaga game, and I like Cosmos there a lot, and I really loved, but I didn't pull her quite as early as some people in Xenoblade 2, but I did pull her in Xenoblade 2, and she was one of the MVPs of my party. But yeah, I mean, I think that she is such an iconic element. If there is a mascot character for the Xeno series, I feel like it's definitely Cosmos, and there's a reason for it. She's got incredible character design. Her interactions with Xion, even the moment she wakes up in Xenosaga, are really fascinating. And I can't wait to sort of see where they take her in episode 2 and 3, especially given what happened at the end of episode 1. I don't want to spoil anything for those listening who haven't played, but I think that she's a great first pick.
See, the fact that she was my first rare blade in Xenoblade 2, I think I should have had that pick, but
wow.
I guess I can.
You've already had your luck, okay?
You had your luck.
Fair.
Okay, and that's Cosmos, maybe the least surprising first pick in the history of the retro fantasy drafts. And with our second pick, Tyler has our second pick. Who you got?
Okay. All right. I don't know if people are going to be disappointed by this or not, but I'm going to choose my protagonist, and that is Xion Uzuki.
How dare you?
That hurt.
That was my first pick even before Cosmos.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
I was so broken up between those two for the first pick. Oh.
Okay, I'm happy that I claimed her then. Because I know there's some people either love or hate Xion, but I'm one of the camp that absolutely loves Xion. I was a little disappointed that there was some Xion smack talk in our Xenosaga episodes. But I just absolutely love her. She's just a very, I don't know, tragic character. She goes through a lot of she has a lot of trauma, and I just absolutely love her and her arc.
Again, I'm going to chime in even when I shouldn't, so please everybody else should. But again, only having played Xenosaga 1, I was not one of the people who was talking Xion for sure, because I think she's a great character. And I love what they've set up with her, because I feel like in Xenosaga 1, obviously she's empathetic to a point that I understand that maybe some people are annoyed by that, but I don't feel like her empathy is in any way over the top. Her relationship with Cosmos is really interesting, and I'm really fascinated and want to know so much more about her history. And I'll be honest, as much as I like Junior, knowing that Junior is sort of the main protagonist, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, of Xenosaga episode 2, I'm like, does that mean I'm not going to spend as much time with Xion? That makes me kind of sad. So I think she's a great pick.
Thank you.
Yeah, luckily, while the story focuses a lot on Junior, you'll still be running around as Xion for the most part.
Yeah, she has her moments in episode 2 still.
And yeah, I'll chime in too. She's fantastic. I love character growth in video games, and she grows so much while never changing the core of her character. She becomes more rounded. I don't want to go into too many spoilers over the course of the series, but that core of kindness and empathy that she has never really goes away. And seeing that in a character all the way through the entire series and never having them go dark or at least nothing permanently I'm just going to be broken down by the world and just stay that positive without being a caricature is rare.
I'm going to say not to have anything against anyone on RPG Fan that doesn't like Xion for any reason, but I think a lot of the hatred for her comes from the fact that a lot of people played Xenosaga for the first time as teenage boys. And they saw Xion as a character that was too feminine and too, I don't know, just too weak for them, not cool enough, that kind of thing. But everything you're saying about how much growth she has, and I don't know, she has such a strong personality, and it plays through the entire series. She's just cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that even like based on like forum conversations that I saw at the time, even though I hadn't played Xenosaga, that's probably fair. I don't really think that's necessarily what Solisi or Peter's criticisms were, but I do think that it is. I think it's a really smart way of thinking about it.
I think you might be onto something there too. Young Wes, who didn't know they were non-binary yet, found this character, fell in love. That feminine energy really spoke to me. I don't know. Maybe you're onto something here.
A lot of characters like that in JRPGs. I think I can relate strongly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's a phenomenal character, even just in episode 1, and I can't wait to see, especially given how much you guys are hyping up her growth, and I already knew I was going to play Xenosaga 2 and 3, so I'm glad to hear it. So next up is me with my third pick, and, I wasn't going to take these two because I knew that they would probably be taken very early on.
Stop.
I think that I am going to take Riku from Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Good choice.
Very good
Good
choice.
choice.
So, Riku, one of the reasons I'm choosing Riku is because I feel like there's a limited number of animal mascot characters that I really want, but also Riku is one of my two favorite characters in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And one of the main reasons for it is that he's a Napon that doesn't annoy the living hell out of me. He's fantastic. We don't really know anything about him. We almost, I think Izzy was trying to convince us to create a Citan XP group or category before this, and it's because he sort of stands in, and we don't know if he's maybe some other characters from elsewhere in the series, but even outside of that, he's just got this like calm, like kind of gruff but funny, but also like deeply kind personality. He's really funny. He's like self-serious and really interesting and amusing ways, and he plays such a critical role in the story in the ways that we don't know that he is one of like the 7 great Napons. I can't remember exactly what they're called, and you just kind of like, oh yeah, that last one's back in the camp. And just the way that he interacts with the characters, I think is really interesting. I love how he sort of functions as a guide to Noah, and I cannot wait to find out more about him in the DLC. And if they don't give us more about him in the DLC, I will riot. Love Riku.
Yeah, I absolutely love Riku. He might be probably my favorite Napon character. Sorry, Riki, but yeah, he's great, and I also love the fact that the party are like secretly trying to like pair him and Manana, and it's adorable.
There are no other Nopon that are this like respectable and upstanding while still feeling like Nopon. Absolutely fell in love with this character immediately. One of the only Xenosaga or Xenoblade 3 picks that I had on my list because I haven't beaten the game and didn't want to take too much, but Riku is too good.
So that's Riku, which was my number 1 on my board. I was very excited to get him. I didn't want anybody else to have my boy Riku. So with the final pick in the first round, Izzy.
Okay. So some picks I already had high up already taken, so I'm gonna start with my Monolith Flex because I think this is possibly the best character in any single Monolith Soft game, and I don't want to lose them, even though I don't know if anyone else would take them. And that is Gilo from Baten Kaitos Origin.
Dang it! Oh
yeah,
my
you were
god!
good to grab that one.
No, that's who I had.
Me too.
So Gilo is an amazing character, super powerful party member, very good at healing, also just has some of the best combos in the game, but also they are incredibly amusing, say some of the funniest stuff. I laughed out loud at so many lines from them. Also kind of non-binary hero, and considering they literally have an overlapping male and female voice and it actually works really well. Very cool, very enjoyable to listen to. Their design is very androgynous, and they just look super cool. I don't know, just one of my favorite characters that Monolith Soft has ever created. And anything else I say is a spoiler, basically. So,
yeah, I really love Gilo, and man, yeah, they were my favorite character in Baten Kaitos Origins, and very, very good pick. I need to do some thinking now.
Yeah, I approve. Even if I'm angry at it.
I haven't played Bet and Kaitos, which is one of the reasons that I made our Monolith flex pick so broad, because like I haven't played Bet and Kaitos, and I feel like I need to play this to have a good pick for Monolith. So from everything I've heard, Alana talks about Bet and Kaitos all the time. I feel like this is an excellent choice. And Izzy also has the 5th pick. So what do you got?
Okay. With that one out of the way, that I'm very glad I picked, now that Wes and Tyler said they would have taken Gilo too. So now things are a little more open. I think I'm going to pick one of my supporting characters, who is probably my favorite character in the Xenoblade series, which is Melia Antiqua. Yeah, so
I hate you so much right now. That was literally my next pick.
That one off.
Literally my next pick.
You're welcome. I mean, how can you not pick Melia, really?
This is A+ drafting content. I appreciate this, even if it hurts.
You're killing me.
I mean, okay. How can you not, though? So I personally, Xenoblade 1, I don't think has the greatest combat system. I think it had some cool ideas, and things didn't really work out super well because of things like the fact that you can't switch party members easily, and the roles are still super strongly defined despite the fact you can't switch them, and the fact that Shulk has the Minato, which like is super important to the vast majority of combat. But then you have Melia, who can hurt Mechon because she uses magic, and she just has this nice loop to her gameplay that no other character in the game has. So like she completely transforms the concept of playing that combat system in a way that is just great, and that alone would earn her a pick on my list. But then she's also the best character in that game. She has the most growth. She's got, I don't know, more to do with the story than pretty much anyone other than Shulk. She's just so ingrained into the plot and the world, and it's hard not to love her. She's just wonderful. And then she's also in Xenoblade 3, so she's got 2 Xenoblade games under her belt.
I mean, this is an excellent choice, obviously,
Absolutely.
since it was my next choice. But yeah, I mean, I think that Melia. I'm not sure how many of you guys have played Future Connected here. Has anybody here played Future Connected?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I feel like Melia, and I really don't like Future Connected all that much. I feel like it's sort of like weirdly distant from both Shulk and Melia, and they're just kind of observers of events. But I do think it gets to, I think the reason that Future Connected exists at all is because people like Melia so much, and because people were so upset about the way that she was shafted. We'll say by the ending of Xenoblade 1. And I actually kind of liked that ending. I thought that it sort of fit her character, even though obviously I would have hoped for something better for her. But yeah, I mean, I think that you can see her in combat. If I'm not controlling Shulk, I'm controlling Melia. And just the way, I think that given that the rest of the combat, I think, and I agree with you, is so kind of basic, especially compared to 2 or 3, she's the one that has the most level of depth and thought. And I'm really thinking about like how I'm setting up these dots and how I'm using and expending these different magics at different times. I can't figure out at all how to use her in different games effectively, but in this one, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, she's, in addition to just being a phenomenal character, she is so fun to control in combat. For my money, like balancing all those different orbs and being a character that you almost have to control to get the most out of. I don't know. That made me happy.
Yeah, she's amazing. Speaking of women who are amazing in Xeno series, and I'm not going to go with the pick that some people are probably expecting here. I'm going to pick my protagonist rather, and it's one that didn't even occur to me until about an hour before recording, and that is Laura from Xenoblade Chronicles 2: The Golden Country. You know what? I am so happy to hear your pain right now, Izzy, after you stole Melia from me.
Fair. Well, there goes my first two protagonist picks.
Yeah, and I as soon as I thought about it, I was like, oh no, there it is. And I literally just wrote up Noah for protagonist for like our game of the year. And Noah was definitely in the conversation for me, and it's who I thought I was going to go for because I really like Noah. But Laura is a perfect protagonist. And I feel like you learn so much about her throughout the course of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And she sort of sits out here as like this almost like mythical figure. Because she is like all the characters of Torna are these mythical figures to some degree, but the way that she brings such a grounded humanity and like joy to the proceedings in Torna, which are often very dark, and just how fun she is to control. Like you either could control her or Jin, and Jin is obviously super fun to control in combat, and Hayes as well. But just how much she brings humanity to the role and how much she serves as a super stark contrast to Rex, with her maturity, and the way that she's functioning. And I like Rex more than most, but I think that she is just a fantastic protagonist. And in a lot of ways, the tragedy of Laura's story carries so much weight in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then to see it in Torna, I thought, or at least the beginnings of it, and see her as a real person, I thought was just fantastic.
I will never get tired of hearing her say, "Aren't we intrepid?" Just, I love her voice actor for sure. Her voice acting is great.
Yeah, and I really loved her dynamic with Jen. It was kind of wholesome.
I'm also superficially a sucker for unique weapons, and a freaking like rope dart grappling hook kind of thing is amazing.
It
So cool.
is, yeah.
Yeah, Laura's just great. I don't even know what I would have said mostly what Zach said, I guess, if I had gotten the pick. She's just a great character. The fact that Torna came out after Xenoblade 2 and you already have her history and then get to explore her life a bit. I don't know. It's just, there's such a weight to playing Torna and playing as Laura.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and it's interesting because so often people are don't like prequels, and I think about something like, I don't know, Better Call Saul, if anybody's watched that, or this, of course, and just the way that it can add humanity to these larger than life figures, I think is really a great way to do a prequel, and she is the best example of that. Obviously, Adam, I think, is really, we don't even see Adam in the flesh at all in the base game, and he's great too. But just Laura's such a great character. So now that I have chosen the best protagonist, no offense, Tyler, it's your pick. So who you got?
Okay, now I feel like I need to make this pick now. So I'm going to pick my antagonist, and that is Albedo from Xenosaga.
Good pick.
Yeah.
Killer pick. That's crossing one off of mine too.
Didn't even put him on my list because I knew he'd be the first one off the board.
Yeah, I figured I should, choose him now. He is a very, he is a very, or at least to me, is very iconic villain. He's especially in episode 1, he's got some moments. But as the series progresses, you kind of learn more about his madness, especially in Xenosaga episode 2, and it does not excuse any of the terrible things that he's done, but he is a super interesting villain, and like his story just I just love everything about him, and his voice acting is top notch. Crispin Freeman went hard on him, and it's great. I just love Albedo.
Albedo sits in like that tier of like Luca Blight to me. So
agreed.
That's a great comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know as much about Albedo as some, but that scene in I won't spoil anything for anybody who's listening and hasn't played Xenosaga, but there's a scene that he has with who's the younger girl in Xenosaga? Momo.
I figured that was what you were gonna bring
in
up.
Xenosaga, that like he drops like 7 different quotes from Shakespeare in it, and it's just like so wildly and insanely over the top, that it goes beyond parody into actually being frightening. That he's he carries so many scenes in that game. He brings such a life to that game that yeah, he's a fantastic pick. All right, and so now that Albedo is off the board, Wes, you have the final pick in the second round.
There's so many good choices here. But I think I'm picking my mech because I'm that one of the bigger Tokusatsu fans on here on the staff, which is I'm not gonna say the biggest. There are a lot of us here, but I need a good combining mech. I need a combining mech to make me happy, so I am taking Kaiser from the Xenosaga series.
Ooh.
Oh, that's great pick. I did not even think of it. Great pick.
I have all of these nice normal gears that you pilot and everything, and then I've got Kaiser sitting right on top. Because it's such a fascinating mech, especially in the first game. You acquire Kaiser by getting robot parts and taking them to kind of a mad scientist, weird ass mech builder, who makes you all of these little vehicle components and like, hey, here's this like spinning top kind of thing. Here's a plane, and those are summons that you can call in. But ultimately, once you get them all, they can combine up into like a Power Rangers style giant
Transformer.
robot. Yeah, like I take your pick of any cool Japanese combining robot.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it breaks the game. I mean, you can like summon Kaiser twice on the last boss or something close to that and beat the game. But also it's just this ridiculously brash, colorful design that I am in love with.
Can someone explain that summon animation to me? So, like, I understand the robot parts coming together. That totally makes sense to me. But then there's like all these shots of like a moon, and I'm like, what's happening here? Like, I don't understand. Like, I only used it like twice after I got it because I didn't think the game was all that hard at that point. But like, I was like, I got to see at least what it is. And then it was like even longer than I could have possibly expected. It makes Knights of the Round look like brief. So could someone explain the moon shots to me? There was like some like goddess looking character. I don't know, man. It's amazing.
It's not uncommon in like tokusatsu style shows, like Power Rangers or whatnot, for when they use their big ultimate attack that defeats the monster, to throw in like almost unrelated backgrounds, big gouts of flame in the background, or cut to a black background that they can reuse and then throw whatever elements that they want in there to make it look more grand and impressive. And it's really kind of aping that, like, okay, this doesn't need to be diegetic. This doesn't need to make any sense in universe.
Okay.
Um,
I love that.
We're just going to make this look over the top and cool so that we can reuse it every episode.
That's what I was hoping.
Tone setting.
Exactly.
That's a great pick. It never even occurred to me.
I wasn't sure if it was going to be something everyone wanted or something that nobody thought of.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm getting it out of the way anyways.
It did not occur to me.
I'm glad I didn't think of it, because then I would have been upset that you.
Yeah, I'd be mad now if I had thought of it. Yeah, because I was kind of struggling to figure out who I wanted my mech picks to be, and if I had known, that would have been absolutely my pick. So excellent choice. All right, so you got probably the most powerful mech in the Xeno series. Well done. Who's your next pick, Wes?
See, this one's a tough one. I've got a few in place here. But I feel like protagonist is going to be, where there are so few protagonists, it's kind of a competitive field. And maybe this is not anyone's pick, but I got to pick Shulk, honestly. Even though Xenoblade is not my favorite, or sub-series within there, Shulk is not just great because of what he is in the game, as he's often kind of a fairly plain kind of a main character, but what has spawned out of Shulk over the years, all of the memes, all of the personality that's come through in other projects that he's cameoed in, and just the design of Shulk, that was what made me fall in love. Back when, as far as we knew, Xenoblade was going to be called Monado. It was that design that really pulled me in and made me really fascinated. The Monado itself is a really amazing weapon design. Shulk has this very casual look, and I'm also a sucker for games where armor reflects appearance, so it feels like Shulk grows into this heroic feel more and more after starting out as very much just like a townie. I don't know. Shulk speaks to me in the weirdest way. especially in being so close to like a small handful of friends in his hometown, and that part of him, the kind of like hometown boy never quite leaving. Oh, I don't know. I love it. Also, he's essential to like most of the battles in there, which is for good or ill.
Yeah, I mean, Shulk was my third on my list for protagonist, and he's and I think that the character work in Xenoblade One is often kind of weak, outside of I think Melia, obviously, and Shulk, and I think that Shulk's character work is really interesting, and if nothing else, Adam Howden yelling is number one reason to make him best protagonist. He's a great choice.
He's a good boy.
Sometimes that's all I want. I just want a very good boy.
You call him a good boy, but his motivation at the beginning is purely revenge, and he's pretty rage filled at first, which is what's interesting to me at the time. How long they keep up the revenge being the only motivation thing.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that the way that it plays on those ideas of um, because I think we as the audience become sympathetic to the Mechon before he does, and he can't let it go. But we also understand that, and so I like that it creates that slight separation between us and protagonist, in a way that I think is a little bit uncomfortable, as you're playing. So yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the best things about Shulk. Let's go with Tyler. What you got?
Okay, so I think I'll go with my mascot character, and I choose Bunny from Xenosaga.
Ah, that was my pick.
There goes one of mine.
Always stepping on each other's toes. But yeah, Bunny is just this. I don't even know what to say about Bunny. Bunny is, I mean, they show up a lot in Xenosaga, but they're just this cute, bunny character that has this very weird dark side. If you look at the back of its head, it's got this evil face, and they lock it away after episode 1, and it's just weird and goofy, but I just like the overall design of Bunny. It's weird and awesome.
And creepy, but in a good way.
Yes, exactly. And you get that summon move in episode 1 that was really good too.
You can see yourself wanting to own a plush of Bunny. That's a fantastic
yes.
Rousing endorsement for Bunny, I think.
All right. Bunny didn't even occur to me. It's a great choice. So it is now on me. Ooh, and this is tough. Huh. I feel like there are so many antagonist characters that are out there, and I feel like I know at least one of you is going to take one from Xenogears. You know what? I'm going to take my supporting character, my first supporting character, and that's going to be Uni from Xenoblade 3.
Nice.
Good
Very
choice.
nice.
I considered taking Uni with my last pick instead of Laura because I was afraid that Uni would be taken. But I just have to do it. Uni, and I wrote this up recently in our game of the year, Uni, and Uni is such a fabulous character because she's first of all hilarious. Like she says all these like ridiculous, delightful Britishisms. I always like to make jokes with Lana about all the British things that she says and how they literally sound exactly like things that she says. And she's amusing and she's funny and she's witty and she's great. But it's really everything that sort of lies underneath that I think makes Uni so fascinating. I love there's a scene between Tyon and Uni, and it's not really spoiling anything, where he offers her tea, and it's just like it gives you such this idea of the depth of her, but not in a cliche way, in a way that feels real and feels immediate. And the character work is so good in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And I might pick a lot of characters from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 because I think the character work there is so strong. Um, but also her history. I think that she's the first person who sort of gives you some hints about some of the deeper lore of of the game, and so I think that she carries so much of the emotional weight while also being such a delightful character to be around. And so I think that she's a great character as a result.
I haven't finished Xenoblade Chronicles 3 yet, but Uni is already kind of a breakout character in there. She stands out. I'm what, like 4 or 5 chapters in at this point. Um, just because she's a force of personality in that party, but not in a negative way. Because Lands kind of can be in a negative way, but Uni always feels like justified, even when she's going a little bit like harder than maybe she needs to in a situation.
I think that's what's interesting is I feel like Uni is the first character of the party to really start seeing more of the shape of the world and like seeing what it means to be human. So with certain scenes that she sees that other people don't, which I think is a cool touch that it's not one of the 2 main protagonists, though I do think other than her, they are the first, but I think it's cool.
Yeah, she has a really cool arc, and and I just love her sassiness.
She is my favorite character in the game. I was just worried about my mascot character. That's why I had to grab Riku early. So next up, we have Izzy with 2 picks.
Okay. I'm gonna go with my mecha first here. I'm gonna take the titular Xenogears because that mecha has been my favorite mecha design since the very first time I saw it, and that has not changed. It is my favorite mecha of all, so I can't really choose anything else than Xenogears itself. Also, it's just really powerful and cool. Like, I love the like spiny wings that it has and the pointy feet. I don't know, it just has such a almost alien design to it compared to all the other mecha in Xenogears. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost looks like it came out of Xenosaga in the world of Xenogears.
Yeah. And I mean, it's very angelic too, which obviously means a lot within Xenogears itself and basically every Xeno game, but
yeah, it's just
symbolism.
Symbolism. And it's just it's super pretty. It's super pretty. I love the design of it too.
I was not surprised. I'm not surprised that it got picked. I was fully expecting it's fully unique in the world of Xenogears, and it's gorgeous.
Yep. Any of my next picks probably would have been from Xenogears as well, but Xenogears itself wins for me there.
Yeah, outside of Vertikaiser, I had a lot of Xenogears picks for me.
Yeah, I just looked at the design again this morning because again I forgot, and it looks fantastic, and that's what I remember. So Izzy has another pick. Who's up next?
Okay. Well, I don't have to choose a protagonist yet since you all chose protagonist, so that's basically my last pick now. So I'm going to pick a supporting character, I think. And this wasn't even at the top of my supporting list, but now that I'm here, I want to pick them. So I'm going to go with Emeralda from Xenogears. I know a lot of people have problems with the portrayal or whatever, the fact that she's a little girl and then she grows into an adult. That there's some weirdness around there. I get it. But the idea of a sentient nanomachine colony that takes the shape of a person and like as the child of a human, just really cool sci-fi stuff that I'm completely in love with. Also, how she fights in combat with her hair and stuff, super cool.
Exactly.
Also, the design's just great.
Yeah, I love how basically they take that whole nanomachine colony thing and she like uses her hair to kind of transform into different like weapons, and it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, really good pick.
Awesome. So I guess I'm up next, huh? Tyler's the only person left to pick a mech, and I don't think Tyler's going to take my mech. I don't think. But there's still 3 antagonists left.
You never know.
There's some good ones there. I think I got to take antagonist, and I'm gonna continue with my run of choosing Xenoblade characters, and I'm going to choose Jin from Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Ooh, nice.
Amazing pick.
That is who I had on my board originally. And it goes back, and I really wanted Jin to be paired with Laura. That was very important to me. So I almost took him a little bit earlier. But Jin, and I feel like in every Xenoblade game, at least in 2 and 3 in particular, you have characters who only sort of vaguely function as antagonists. And I think Jin more than vaguely functions as an antagonist. But knowing what you know about his backstory, especially having played Torna, and just how powerful he is in combat. Like, I feel like the fights against him are usually very difficult. Like, you're always like, sometimes you're fighting against him and also Malos, and it's always important to take Jin down first because Jin is more powerful than the Aegis. He's more difficult to hit. He's more powerful, but I love his relationship with Laura so much. And especially and I haven't had a chance to play Xenoblade Chronicles 2 after, like, fully through after playing Torna, but I want to, because I think that it would give him such a level of depth that he didn't even already have. You know what I mean? So I think that he looks cool. He's got a great design, and he is just a fantastic character.
Yeah, he was definitely he was my runner-up in case Albedo was taken. Jin was a very interesting villain in Xenoblade 2, and yeah, yeah, and made even better through Torna.
At
Also,
which point you can consider them a support if you want to as well. So is that still open? Can we draft for different positions?
Oh, good point.
That's a fair question, but I'd say he's off the board at this point.
But there is another Gene you can draft if you want.
Shh, don't tell anyone that.
But first villain that is a Citan, so that's fun.
That's fair. So I guess we'll go with next pick, Tyler.
Okay, let's see here. I will choose my first supporting character, and that will be Nia from Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Excellent.
Such a good pick.
Yeah, I absolutely love Nia and her arc. Chapter 7 of Xenoblade 2 is my absolute favorite. I mean, she's another character that's sassy, but also I just love, without getting into spoiler territory, just her arc and how she I don't know, uh relates things to her friends, and I don't know. I just absolutely love her. Um and she's in Xenoblade 3, and yeah, I love her in that too. Well, except for one big thing, but not going to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say much about her in Xenoblade 3, although they do some really there are some moments in Xenoblade 3, and this is all I'll say, that are really cool as it relates to Nia. And you can listen to Spillercast if you want to hear my thoughts about that. But yeah, I mean, she was definitely on my list for similar reasons to Uni, I guess. It just, again, like that. I'm just like sort of a sucker for a very particular kind of character. I'm someone who's like sort of sassy and witty on the top, but also has like this like great depth of feeling. And you're right, the end of chapter 7. And I don't want to talk too much about what Rex said there because that's been recontextualized.
Jeez Louise.
I'm not going to say anything else about that. But I still think it's a really moving scene. And just like, after you've seen her for 7 chapters being what she is and who she is, and then the way she expresses herself so deeply and so fully and so truly, I think is really moving. And it's why I think that I agree. Chapter 7 of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which I liked, like, again, more than most up to then. And then I got to that and I was like, oh, okay. All right. I see you, game. I see you. So yeah, it's a great pick. All right. So we have one more pick in the 4th round. Wes, who would you like to pick?
So I'm thinking hard about this because there are plenty where I could probably snipe a character that might get taken. But now I'm thinking, at this stage in the draft, which characters would I be saddest if they were taken, regardless of likelihood? So I've got to get my antagonist in. And for me, one Cosmos just isn't enough. So I'm gonna pick Telos from Xenosaga Episode 3 and really complete the combination here.
Oh.
I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought I was safe.
Oh no.
So I was right to pick Telos at this
Yes.
point, right?
Wes,
Yes.
you took them both. You took them both.
I gave everyone
Smart.
a fair chance, and then I got
You
greedy.
did.
Telos is kind of the negative inverse of Cosmos in Xenosaga Episode 3. In that where Cosmos is stoic, she's more emotional, she's brash, kind of feels very superior in a lot of ways, and feels very, very full of herself in some ways. And I don't want to give too many spoilers about her because that's a long way off for Zach and anyone who hasn't played Xenosaga Episode 3, up to Episode 3. But functionally, she is kind of like your evil Cosmos in a lot of ways, but she's got a little bit more interesting to her backstory that makes her feel fleshed out and earned as a character, rather than a lot of times when they just want to throw you a palette swap and say, "Ah, isn't this neat?" She's actually got like some interesting reason for existing that makes sense within the world, and I appreciate that. I kind of like the palette swap characters in almost any game, but especially when they're given a reason to exist.
I have nothing unique to say about this except I really liked her as a Blade in Xenoblade 2.
Yeah, she was much easier to get than Cosmos.
I never got either, and it breaks my heart. This is why I need to draft them now.
Oh,
Fair.
this is filling that hole.
Exactly. This is like pulling them from the rare blades.
Yeah, I really love Telos. I mean, I really wish we had gotten more of her in Episode 3. I feel
Agreed.
like we get a lot more of her in like spin-off games like the Project Cross Zone games and Xenoblade 2. I feel like we get more of her in all of that than we did it in all of Episode 3. But yeah, I really like Telos and yeah, her backstory. I just wish there was more of her.
It feeds into the kind of like almost nonsense, but no, wait, there might be genius here that the rest of the Xenosaga series like backstory falls into.
Yeah.
It's just crazy enough to work.
Well, I look forward to meeting her, at least for real. I guess I kind of did already. Anyway, so Wes, you have another pick. Who you got?
I do, and I'm glad that Tyler brought up Project Cross Zone.
Oh.
Because I'm about to make a wild card choice here. What part of what I love about the first Project Cross Zone is that you've got Cosmos and Telos on a team. It's this kind of tactical RPG where you take control of pairs of characters and have a semi-action, combat when you actually attack the character. And those two work really well together, which is one of the reasons I kind of wanted both of them here. But opening up the Monolith Flex to anything that Monolith has worked on might have gotten you in some trouble here because Project Cross Zone is on that list.
Oh no, I knew it was a possibility.
And it just so happens in Project Cross Zone 2, they bring in some characters from the Like a Dragon series. Specifically, Kazuma Kiryu and my pick, Goro Majima, is now joining the Xeno universe. I didn't know if anyone else would think of this, but I would be so sad if I didn't get Goro Majima piloting Erdekaiser on my team.
It's an excellent pick. Excellent pick.
I don't know how much one needs to say about Goro Majima to really bring it home here. But he is one of the most fascinating characters from the Like a Dragon series, which is a competitive spot in that series. And I don't know. The thought of him in this world wreaking the kind of chaos that he can wreak it fills my heart with joy.
Albedo fighting Majima.
Oh god. It's who's worse? It's the competition of who's going to be worse in this situation.
It's such an excellent choice. I knew that they brought a lot of characters in, but I did not know they brought in Yakuza or Like a Dragon characters. So that's excellent.
I knew there was only a very small chance of anyone picking this one, but I needed it for me.
I understand. All right. So after that excellent pick, now it is Tyler's choice. I believe we are in the 5th round. So second pick in the 5th round. Tyler, who are
Okay.
you choosing?
All right. So, Wes, you've inspired me a little bit. I'm going to also choose my Monolith wild card, and that is going to be Phoenix Wright from Project Crosszone 2.
Amazing.
What can
Oh,
you
this
say?
is where it really comes together.
Oh, I can't remember who he because he was paired up with somebody, but he was paired up with someone that was like not even from the Phoenix Wright series. I just wanted to say, you inspired me, Wes, and that's the reason why I chose it.
I have to know, like, what exactly is Phoenix Wright's role on your team? What are they doing for you?
Oh wait, yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay, I've just remembered. Okay, or I just looked it up because yeah, they're a he's actually paired up with Maya in that.
Yeah, but counts as kind of a solo character that you can attach to another pair.
Exactly. Yeah, because you have these solar characters that you can equip basically to a duo of characters. But yeah, they're like basically add to the your character's combos in a way.
Albedo could probably use a lawyer.
That's fair.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
I wasn't even thinking about that. And yeah, I got Albedo a lawyer.
Nothing can erase this headcanon now.
Those two picks are incredible. Very nicely done. My flex, now that I know what it'll be, is significantly less creative. So I have a lot of picks left, and there's a lot of spots left open here. I think I'm gonna have to take another supporting character. And I wasn't planning to choose all my characters in Xenoblade 3 and Xenoblade 2, but it's just kind of the way it's working out because of who's available. And I've got to take Morag from Xenoblade 2.
Oh
Damn you,
man,
sir.
very
pick.
good pick.
Yeah, I mean, Morag is such an excellent character, especially in a game where I don't know. How would I put it nicely? Sometimes the character designs are troubling. Is maybe the best way I can put it. Morag is such a stark contrast to so many other ways that women in particular are represented in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And so I think her design's great. I think she is fantastic from that perspective, but also she's just got a really fascinating personality, sort of her level-headedness, and given some of the hotheads I have on my team currently, like Jin and Uni, I feel like that's really going to be important to sort of leveling out my team. Someone sort of being a leader, more as a leader too, but in a very different way. And I feel like Morag and Laura will really work together extremely well. Um, I love that Scottish accent. That's the real reason. Scottish accent. The end.
I think that's enough. I think that's a good enough reason. She is like, it feels like every RPG has the one character that's designated as the cool character. Like we want all of the cool to be located in one place so that this is the character to root for. And the fact that Morag gets to be, in my opinion, that for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is amazing because she is just bleeds cool all over the the dang place, but still has enough going on that like that's not her only defining characteristic, um, which often can be the case with the cool characters.
Yeah, she is a really cool character, and I like how she kind of breaks. I don't know, I guess like gender norms with the way she dresses um and just how I don't know cool she is, but she also has these moments where like she'll have with Bridget where um like I remember there's the one heart to heart where they're like making fish and she's like freaking out and it freaks Bridget out in the
Oh my
process.
gosh, I
And
forgot about that. That's
it's
such a good scene.
it's such a good one. It's hilarious. So even though she's calm and collected most of the time, there's some moments where it breaks a little bit, and it's just she's great. I love her.
Morag is a tank, but she dual wields whip swords.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, I could have used the other tank character, but why would I ever take Morag out of my party?
Exactly.
All right. So that's Morag. And that's my final pick of this round. But Izzy, you have 2 picks. Who's your first pick?
Okay, this is where the supporting characters I have left are very much a toss-up, and I kind of want to pick them all, so I have to choose one. And I'm thinking I might choose one specifically because they pair with my protagonist. So I'm gonna go with Ellie from Xenogears for my supporting character, my last supporting character pick.
Nice. Excellent choice.
I think Ellie's just a fascinating character, how she's portrayed through the whole game. She changes so much, while also keeping that core. She's kind of, in a way, almost a proto-Xion, so there's a lot of similarities between her and Xion, so maybe that's partially why I'm picking her, because I did get Xion. But there's a lot of fascinating stuff done with her and where she comes from and what she means to people and what she means to society and the world and what she means to history. There's just so many layers there, like almost everything in Xenogears. And she's got a great design too. She's good in combat. And her romance with Faye is top notch. One of the best video game romances, I think, for a lot of reasons. Part of it being the fact that it's just shown as a mature romance, unlike the vast majority of video game romances. So,
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know, Xenogears came like early into me knowing what anime is, relatively speaking. And she's always been like one of those defining character designs for me that I like hold other people up up against. Um she manages to both have like what looks, a very military look, but something that doesn't lead to her seeming weird and like needing to change over time. It still suits her a lot. And she's kind of this she goes through so many phases as she grows, from standoffish to that growing closeness with others and the expectations around her always playing against her. Um it's one of those fascinating characters where like you never know what bait is going to throw at them next. So it's interesting to watch just because like, man, what is she going to go through and how is she going to like deal with it? And I love a little roller coaster like that.
And how can you pair the protagonist of that's as messed up as Faye with someone that isn't that messed up?
Exactly.
Ellie, just as messed up as Faye.
Yeah, that's true. She goes through a lot of things, a lot of stuff, and yeah, I really like her as a character as well.
And I have a feeling I know who your next pick is about to be. So whenever you're ready, Izzy.
Protagonist, Fei Fong Wong.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
For that great romance, for another character with so many layers. Someone who evolves so much throughout the story. Someone who doesn't always have the personality that you would expect a protagonist to have. And sometimes he can be cowardly. Sometimes he can be angry in a way that you would not expect a main character to be, but Shulk inherits that a bit later, maybe. But he's a painter. Very cool profession for a main character of a JRPG. I don't know. He's very cool. His fighting style being martial arts, but just the animations of his martial arts, top notch. Very, very cool. That Xenogears doesn't have the best combat, but those combat animations make combat worth it to me. And Faye has some of the best. Yeah. Faye's just a great protagonist, and I mean, because Xenogears was a formative game for me, he's also just a formative protagonist for me, and his relationship with Ellie, like I said, wonderful romance. He also has a great relationship with pretty much every party member, though. There's a lot of fun stuff there, a lot of fun interactions. And with antagonists. Yeah. Ridiculous interactions with the antagonists between Faye everyone.
And what you said about like the animations and stuff actually rings really really close to home here, because at that point it was rare, because PS1 games, like, they didn't want to have sprite based PS1 games in America very often at that point, and uh it kind of retaught me what sprite animation can be, especially Faye, because there are these intricate, kung fu moves uh, that are just absolutely stunning to look at. And that is how this game kind of taught me, oh yeah, 2D is still cool, isn't it? Like, I like this. I want to keep doing 2D forever.
Right?
Um,
How could they make the animation so smooth?
right? Yeah. I mean, Faye's iconic, right? Such an iconic character that they kind of had to play with him a little bit in Xeno Saga. At least tease
Yeah,
you a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And just like Noah looks like him too, so more teases there. Teases everywhere for Faye.
yeah. Faye was a really great protagonist. I kind of like with Xion. I like how, I mean, there's different layers to them, and they have this. I don't know. They're impacted by some serious trauma, but um, yeah, there's just so many layers to Faye, and it's yeah, I love him as a protagonist as well. One of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, my memory serves that there's something that happens very early on with Faye, and then you kind of learn about this history of trauma. I don't really remember, but I think it's a great choice. So I have another pick here. What am I going to take? Really, only two places, and I feel bad. I'm going to take another character from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for a supporting character, and it's going to be Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good choice, good choice.
I feel bad that I'm only doing like two games here, but oh well. Mio is, we actually tossed around this idea of whether Mio should be considered to be a protagonist. I actually think it was her name specifically that was brought up, and I think it's a reasonable one, because Mio in many ways functions as a protagonist in this game, even though she plays slight second fiddle to Noah, so she's very close to being a protagonist. But it's really late game stuff with Mio. We're talking like end of chapter 5 through the end, that really sold me on Mio as being an amazing character. I liked her before. I thought she was a good character. I thought she was interesting. I thought she was fascinating. But stuff that I can't go into too much at this point is really what compelled me in terms of Mio and her relationship with another sort of antagonist character, in the way that they sort of play off of each other, I think is really fascinating. And she has moments of weakness, and similar to Ellie and Faye, she has such a lovely and mature relationship with Noah, and sort of knowing the full history of that relationship really brings the tragedy of her story and others to the fore. And I think that some of the stuff she does in chapter 6 and on is really compelling, and I think that she could easily have carried the game on her own, but I think that she doesn't so much. And again, in terms of Faye and Ellie, she has a lot in common with Noah, but she plays off of him enough by having just maybe a little bit more um, emotion and press than Noah usually does, outside of a couple of moments. And so I think that Mio is a really interesting and fascinating supporting character.
That one scene with that punch, good stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I can only say so much about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 characters with only part of the picture, but
Yeah, it's my bad.
no,
No,
it's these are fantastic choices, because even where I'm at, like, Mio is absolutely amazing. You know, kind of almost in protagonist territory with how important she is to the story, and how much focus she's given. Um, and I don't know, she just works. It's kind of amazing, like, to just see a character that just like, oh, this all just comes together perfectly. There is no part of like growing pains and learning to love this character. Um, it just comes together instantly, and you're kind of hooked in with her throughout the whole series end to end, into wherever I'm at.
I also love that she serves as like the best dodge tank in the game, which is always my favorite. Since I'm out of supporting characters now, I can say that Dunban was definitely on my list, because who else can like tank a fight naked? But I love a good dodge tank. I love someone who is an agility tank in a Xenoblade game, and I love like controlling her in combat because she controls so fast. And just like how fast her arts come back up makes her really fun to control in combat. And I usually don't like to play tanks in games, like not even MMOs usually, but she's just a blast to control with her base class. Okay, so that is Mio. Tyler, you're up next. You have 2 supportings and a mech left.
Okay. I'm starting to feel bad that I haven't chosen anything from Xenogears. So I am going to choose for my mech. I'm going to choose Rin Mazuo, Billy's Billy Black's mech. For the sole purpose is that because it has a cape, and I love mechs with capes. That's my story.
I think this is a good reason to pick this mech.
I agree.
Because the cape is glorious.
Like, I could have chosen his El Rinmazoa mode, but it's like the cape isn't as good as the base one, so I'm just gonna choose Rinmazoa.
Also, it's one of the few mechs smart enough to bring a gun to the fight, so that's pretty cool.
That's true. I'm sorry, I didn't have a deeper story to that.
Cape is deep enough. You know what? And I think that is all the depth that we require. So we're going to move to the next 2 picks.
I approve.
And Wes, you have 2 picks in a row. So what you got?
Well, I'm hoping that my mascot isn't at risk right now. So I got to go all in on support and get those done. I also feel bad about the lack of Xenogears on my list, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity. So I'm actually pulling Bart from Xenogears as one of my supporting characters. He's not the most beloved character, I think, but he's kind of occupies that lovable rogue kind of archetype. But he elevates for me for a couple of reasons. One, just kind of being reliable and being there for most of the game. I love kind of the stalwart companion kind of character archetype. And most importantly, he uses 2 whips. He just busts out a couple of whips and goes crazy on enemies, and I kind of love that. Whips are not a super common RPG weapon, and dual wielding whips even less so. But that plus his, there's obviously more to it. There's a lot going on in his backstory that leads to him being a pretty important figure in the world of Xenogears. He's your first character to get their Omnigear, which means it kind of can get outstripped later in the game, but that's neither here nor there. I didn't draft the gear; I drafted Bart here. He's definitely got his ups and downs, but I feel like he has, as far as like the world building goes of Xenogears, he kind of has the biggest hand in a lot of that because he's the most kind of part of the world, like has to by necessity be involved with the world, or at least is up there with a handful of other characters for just defining the world and giving you a view of a section that you might not otherwise really know about. That's as far as I feel like I can go without spoilers.
Also, he has an eye patch.
I love a good eye patch.
Goes
He's
with your
the guy
modular.
who like has the ship, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was like, my memory isn't totally failing me. I remember liking him. That's what I got.
Yeah, he's a cool character. He has a cool buddy relationship with Faye, and he's a really cool character.
Yeah, when we were talking about, other characters having a cool relationship with Faye besides just Ellie, he was the first one that popped into my head because I absolutely love just platonic friend characters in RPGs. I don't know why. It appeals to me. It touches that found family part of my heart that I love so much.
Oh.
Perfect. So, who's your next pick?
I feel like everybody needs a Citan. And my Citan of choice is Jin Uzuki from Xenosaga. I know I'm pretty heavy on the Xenosaga in this list, and it's because that's where my heart lives.
Same.
And Jin is such an interesting character. You know, this former soldier, now this like calm, contemplative, reasonable kind of person. You learn over time isn't necessarily the strength that it can sometimes be portrayed as, because he has so much trouble connecting to people, none more than his sister Shion, who kind of can't stand him because his lack of ability to empathize, his lack of ability to connect. They have this very combative relationship for most of the game, most of the games in there, that only really comes together time and again when you see how much Jin really does care about Shion and is trying to do the best for her, even though he doesn't necessarily know best. And he knows that he doesn't always know best because he's pretty self-deprecating. He doesn't have a super high opinion of himself. He thinks he's just I think the phrase is something like useless old bookkeeper or something like that. Um, he refers to himself as lesser on a regular basis. But he's still, I mean, he's still stalwart, supportive, very the voice of reason in a lot of situations. And he's a Citan, so he's just cool. He's just cool. He's got a katana. He quick draws it. He does cool stuff. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's really cool. Like, even though, like, yeah, he's obvious, a super obvious homage to Citan. I feel like he's, I don't know, a better person overall than Citan is, and just like his how much he cares about Shion is yeah, is really good. But um, yeah, he's good, and his
I
sword
need to meet
fights.
this character. Which
his-
Xenosaga does he appear in?
You'll see him
episode
in the next
2.
one.
Okay,
So
excellent.
he has the
I-
coolest sword fights with
Yeah.
Margulis.
Absolutely.
I
He's
was
a
just going
highlight
to bring
of
up
that game.
I was just going to bring up the fact that I think it's really cool how he's just in the background of Xenosaga 1. Like, you keep hearing references to him, but you never actually get to meet him. And then Xenosaga 2 opens with, like, amazing Gene stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
All right. You're selling me. All right. I hear you.
I mean, I love watching characters who struggle to manage their emotions, and honestly, even though Jin is calm and collected, he is always struggling to figure out his emotions.
Well, it sounds like an excellent choice, and thank you for reminding me that I need to go pick up Xenosaga 2 as soon as we're done recording.
Yes. Yes.
So, the next pick, Tyler.
All right. Okay, I will choose my. Well, I only have supporting characters left. I will choose my supporting character, and I am going to choose Ziggy from Xenosaga.
I love Ziggy.
Yeah, he's super great. Yeah. Super tragic character. That goes through an incredible arc throughout the games, and his backstory through, like, if you read the translation to the Pied Piper cell phone mobile game from the early 2000s.
That is my
It's-
favorite thing that anyone said on this podcast. For the translation to the cell phone mobile game from
That's
the early
phenomenal.
2000s.
Yeah.
It's so Xenosaga.
God, yeah. I mean, he has his day in Xenosaga, but that Pied Piper was. But yeah, he's a very tragic character, and I just love how his arc of trying to, I guess, get rid of his humanity, but then finding it again through, like, Momo and other characters. But yeah, he is great. I love him.
Also features a lot of the coolest animations in that dang game.
Oh my gosh, his move in episode 3 where he snaps characters' necks is ridiculous, but amazing.
The different roles people can fulfill in Xenosaga 3 are already cool. The fact that his are all, I'm gonna break some bones.
It shows the strength of the characters in the Xeno series that I didn't even have Ziggy on my list, but as soon as you pick him, I'm like, damn, I wish I'd had him on my list. Also, great choice. Every
Yes.
single choice here has been like great choice.
Yes.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, like, even as someone who doesn't know Ziggy all that well yet, it actually made me sad that, at least in Xenosaga Episode 1, he's basically useless in battle because he's so slow. I'm like, I really want to use this guy, but I can't. So I'm going to use this guy I don't know anything about, Chaos, to to kind of clear these fights. But I think that almost immediately, like, I feel like one of the things that impressed me about the way they characterize Ziggy is how, like, he gets introduced in these, like, one of the many sequences of cutscenes that make maybe 10% sense to someone who hasn't played this before. But he has such he's so distinctive so quickly, and then he goes and he does something that makes him so distinctive by saving, another character, Momo. And so I think that it's another character arc that I really want to see all the way through and get to know better, because I really enjoyed him so far.
And thankfully, he is a lot more of a force of nature in Xenosaga 3.
I'm
He's-
happy to hear
God,
it.
yes.
He's
He really
incredibly
is.
useful.
He's amazing.
I'm glad to hear it. Perfect. So I guess it's my pick now. I only have a couple picks left here, but they're all safe because everybody's taken everything else. So I guess I'll take my last. And of course, it's from Xenoblade 2, which apparently is what I'm doing today. But I'm going to take my mech character, and it's going to be Artifice Ophion from Xenoblade 2.
Oh.
Not even a character, really. I wasn't really sure if it would fit, and I was like, you know what? I think it fits. So as a kind of a reminder, because I kind of forgot exactly what the name of this mech was, it is, throughout Xenoblade 2, it is the mech that protects the World Tree. And it's so powerful that, like, you're afraid to approach the World Tree because you're afraid you're going to get attacked by Ophion.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember.
Yeah. But it turns out that there's a little bit of a history to Artifice Ophion, if you've played Torna. And I think that they probably deal with it a little bit in Xenoblade 2, but I don't remember the particulars. But I just watched someone play Xenoblade Torna recently again. And its role in the story of Xenoblade 2 Torna is so critical to the world that exists when you play Xenoblade 2 that I think it's awesome. It's also just like this serpent creature who's like so powerful that it's a super boss in Xenoblade 2, and you require like a very specific setup to take it down. So its level of power is really high, and I think it's really cool. But I just love its connection to Mithra, who was a character who I very much was considering for my supporting, like very much considering, because I think Mithra is a phenomenal character, especially after playing Torna. But yeah, Ophion's level of power was just, I couldn't pass it up. So Artifice Ophion is my choice.
Yeah, this is another one of those that, like, oh, I never would have thought of this, but it's excellent. I kind of forgot that this existed until you mentioned it, and then it's like all these memories come flooding back.
Yeah, that is a pull. That is a pull, and
That
I
is a
commend
heck
you
of a
for
pull.
that.
And such a cool design, like this weird, like, mechanic organic mix that I always love in my mechs. Like the Escaflowne almost style, where they don't look they look constructed but not like built by human hands by any means. I love that kind of look.
Yeah, it's a cool one. I prefer the Siren, but Ophion's very cool too.
Siren was my second choice. So if someone happened to take Ophion, I was like, all right, Siren is my next choice. I'll take Malos's instead. That is my second to last pick, and I believe, Izzy, your last two picks are up.
Okay, this mascot category is kind of killing me. I could go with Choo Choo for the memes. I could go with Riki for introducing us to Nopon. I could go with Banana for being a great pair with Riku and just a hilarious character. I think I'm gonna go weird though. Animal character rather than specifically mascot. Albie from Xenosaga.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, I wouldn't have even thought of that. That's adorable.
And I can't really say anything about Albie. Because Zach has not played Xenosaga 2 or 3 yet.
He's a cute dog. That's all.
He's a cute dog.
Cute dog.
I just Googled him real quick, and you are correct. He is indeed a cute dog.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Don't read anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. I will literally close that tab right now. You're going to hear my click. There you go. It's closed.
Good decision.
Okay, well, I appreciate that you chose a cute dog. Next.
And then final is antagonist for me. I'm trying to decide between two characters here, one of which I might not be able to talk about very much because, once again, Zach has not played Xenosaga 2 and 3.
Oh.
Pick whoever you want. I'll be okay. I'm not that
Okay.
much of a spoiler phobe, I promise.
I am going to pick Wilhelm from Xenosaga.
Ooh.
Oh, I love this pick.
Okay, yeah.
Wilhelm is Zed from Xenoblade 3 done well.
Ha! Yes. 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 That's so spot on.
And there's not a ton I could say about Wilhelm, but I think Wilhelm is a fascinating villain who gets just the right amount of explanation where you understand what he's doing and maybe partially where he's coming from and some of the effects of things and all that, but he's still a mystery in the end. It's a unique level of information that just makes me still think about him and what the heck was going on there. And good design, suitably creepy and like evil while still being kind of like understandable, and like he almost has something here, but he's just really, really evil.
He's like the presentable type of evil.
Right. He's like very charismatic and like smooth talking, and yeah,
That
has
makes
a good
him
voice.
so much scarier to me.
Very
Yeah.
For the record, like, even though technically Wilhelm has not been presented as a villain to me in Xenosaga Episode 1, he's clearly a villain. Like, I'm like, there's no question.
Yeah, there's something up
This
with this
dude is like one of the big bads.
Yeah.
He's corporate evil. Yeah.
Indeed.
As soon as capitalism comes into play, you gotta think there's evil involved.
Right?
Exactly.
One of my favorite things about JRPGs.
Exactly. JRPGs are very good about that.
Yeah, they are indeed.
My other pick for antagonist, just like I was debating between two, would have been Graf.
Ooh, that would have been.
I was kind of expecting someone to get Graf.
I thought someone was going to take Krellian.
Krellian's good too. Graf was just so many layers and such an interesting character, but I wanted to go more Xenosaga in my list, so Wilhelm it is.
Perfect.
This way we were poaching each other so much.
Xenosaga is my favorite Xeno series.
Same.
Man, I'm going to do it, I promise.
Okay.
All right, and so I am up next with my final pick. And I have my Monolith Flex pick, and I'm going to choose the first game that I am aware of that Monolith worked on that they were not actually in charge of. And that is Dirge of Cerberus.
Oh,
What a
I love it.
What a poll.
I was so tempted to do Dirge. Oh my god.
And you know what? I have never played Dirge of Cerberus.
Oh boy.
But you know what? I don't care because Vincent Valentine is my flex pick.
Amazing.
So we're going to talk about Final Fantasy VII for a second here. So Vincent Valentine in Final Fantasy VII is by far the coolest character, but he's by far the worst character in combat. Like almost every character is like equal in that game, except for Vincent. He's worse than everyone else. But you know what? I don't care. Vincent every time. Vincent is the definition of cool. In French class in 7th grade, my name was Vincent. And it's because of how much I love Vincent Valentine. And I can't let that level of love pass me by. So Vincent Valentine is my flex choice.
I can't complain with that. Vincent is great.
I adore
Dirge of Cerberus
this.
might not be a great game, but I mean, I personally enjoy it in some twisted, weird way, but partially because it is Vincent, though. Vincent is great.
I commend you on this poll. That's good.
I love it.
It's funny because like I looked it up on Wikipedia and they said that like they had worked on that, And then I looked on their official website and they didn't mention it. And then I found it mentioned a bunch of other places. And I'm like, you know what? I bet they just want us to forget. So I'm gonna say the Dirge of Cerberus was a thing. And so Vincent Valentine is my choice. I always love me an edgy boy. Always, always, always. So
And he's one of the best edgy boys.
Indeed. He's like he's the best edgy boy. So, Tyler, you have one final pick, and it's for supporting. And if you don't pick this character, I cannot believe this character hasn't been taken yet. I'm going to be very surprised.
Oh,
but
no.
Go ahead.
That's a lot of pressure on me.
I know, right?
Oh, God. All right. So for my last supporting character, I'm gonna choose... I'm gonna choose Chaos from Xenosaga.
How did nobody take Citan?
It's all
Okay.
oops, all XPs. It's
Uh,
all
I
But I'm
thought
not gonna
about him
lie,
at one
Chaos
point,
was one of my
but
top picks. I love Chaos.
I love Chaos. Like,
Chaos is wonderful.
it's just something he can do. Just touch the Gnosis and it's dead.
Yeah, and it disappears.
It's just something he can do. Yeah, but I love him and his mysteriousness, and I another situation where I wish there was more of him, but he definitely gets his moments near the end of the series. But yeah, I love him, and I love him in battle, and yeah, I just he's a great character. I love him. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Like, this is the one of my favorite supporting characters in Xenosaga, and he's so like calm and cool and collected. And what the hell is up with this kid?
He's such a nice guy.
Seems so nice and kind, but also like terrifying in its own way. Plus, that design is just aces, especially the Xenosaga 3 costume. Is like,
His pants look so comfy. His
I
pants look
love
so
those comfy baggy pants.
Yeah, even as someone who doesn't know much about Chaos, I can't wait to learn more. They and I think that Xenosaga does a really good job of this by the end of the game, at least, of setting up all these like mystery dominoes that you want to knock down. And Chaos, I think, is one of the biggest ones personally, because it's like this person has to be enormously important to what's happening here. But outside of that, I feel like Chaos is really fun to control in battle, really fun to use in battle. I like his AoE skills with angel wings, I think is what it's called. It was very useful for me. He's fast, and he just has like this level of sort of considered kindness that I think is really fascinating. Just sort of watching him like sort of watch over all of this is sort of this like embedded godlike figure, I'm guessing. I think is fascinating.
Also, the choice to not capitalize his name.
Right.
Yes.
That is so early 2000s JRPG. I love it.
Such a choice.
All right. And so we have one last pick, the end of the draft. Wes, who is your final pick?
I left Animal Mascot open because I felt safe, but I also wanted to make sure we ended on something big, something important, something grand. And I feel like I've accomplished that because I am drafting Turters from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the small handheld turtle, pet and mascot of Zeke and Pandoria, often seen being doted on wildly or just resting on Zeke's head or shoulder. This turtle has no role in the story. No real, mysteries to solve. No real importance besides it is just the cutest little turtle that you have ever seen. And Zeke loves it, Pandoria loves it, and we all love it.
Turters, yes.
Turters.
Very, very cute creature.
I
Can't deny
completely
that.
forgot about Turters. It's an excellent choice.
Yes.
Needed to go out on a high note for me.
Okay, so that is the end of the draft. And so what I am going to do real quick here is I'm going to read out for all the listeners our complete teams, and you can think about whose is the best. It's mine. And think about, even though I only have characters from like literally 2 games. So we're going to start with Wes's team. Wes's protagonist is Shulk, antagonist Telos, Cosmos, Bart, Jinizuki, Erdra Kaiser, Turchers, and Goro Majima. I can't help but laugh at that. Tyler's team is Shion, Albedo, Nia, Ziggy, Chaos, Rena Mizuo. Is that right? Rena Matsuo.
I think it's Rin Mizuo, but
Ren Mizuo, whatever.
I don't know.
The Bunny, and Phoenix Wright from Ace Attorney. And then you have my team, which is Laura, Jin, Uni, Morag, Mio, Ophion, Riku, and Vincent Valentine. And then you have Izzy's team, Faye, Wilhelm, Melia, Emeralda, Ellie, the Xenogear. Yeah. Albi and Gio from Batten Kaitos Origins. So I have one final question to ask of all of you. And if you've ever participated or listened to a draft episode, you might know what's coming. In any given fantasy football league that I've ever been in, most important thing, honestly, and whoever wins the league really, is the team name. So what I need everybody to do, and we can do this in whatever order you guys come up with them, is I need a name for your team.
Gilo and the Zohars.
This is an excellent choice. Excellent choice. Gilo and the Zohars. That is so Xeno that I don't even know what to say. I love it so much. I'm still thinking about mine. Oh, I got mine. Mine is Ginny and the Jets.
Team Trauma.
That could be any of the teams. But
That's true. That's true.
Wes, I have high expectations for you. I want you to know that.
Oh,
because the last time I did a draft with you, yours was by far the best.
I'm trying. I'm so close to pulling it together. I think my team is the Mad Dogs of the Encephalon.
Yep.
Got to put my power player front and center.
There you go.
Okay, so we have 4 team names. Wes's team name is Mad Dogs of the Encephalon. Tyler's is Team Trauma. Mine is Ginny and the Jets. Boo. And then Izzy's is Gio and the Zohars. And that is the end of our draft episode. Thank all 3 of you so much for joining me. I had a blast sort of going through my lost memories of Xenogears. Learning a little bit about what I have to look forward to in Xenosaga, and getting into something a little bit meatier with Xenoblade. So thank you guys so much for joining me.
Yeah, this was fun. It was really fun. Thank you for having
blast.
me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was great. It's always fun to have your picks stolen and then get to steal other people's picks.
We did a lot of that in this one, didn't we?
We sure did. Yeah, there was a lot of snaking, for sure. So let's talk about what's coming up next on Retro Encounter. So you might have noticed, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. This episode came a little bit earlier than we originally intended, but there were some scheduling conflicts that created some changes. So this is going to come in January, whereas it was originally supposed to come in February. So that means there are some other changes here as well. Next week, we're going to have an episode about games that need a re-release or a remaster. I hope Xenosaga will come up on it.
I hope so too.
And then after that, we're playing we're going to have 2 episodes about Ogre Battle 64. And then after that, we were originally going to have Lost Odyssey, but that has been pushed to April for similar scheduling reasons. And we're going to have 2 episodes instead about Star Tropics 1 and Star Tropics 2, Zoda's Revenge. You will not hear me on those episodes because I don't want to expose myself to that pain again. But otherwise, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at retro@rpgfan.com. You can also leave us feedback on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find us on Discord, YouTube. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us all over the internet. Leave us feedback. We love feedback, mostly of the positive variety. And we also have a shop. So if you go to rpgfan.com, you can see that we have an RPG Fan shop where you can get a lot of merch. I've got a couple of mugs. I've got a couple of t-shirts. I do love RPG Fan. We also have 2 other fine podcasts. One is Random Encounter, every 2 weeks, mostly about randomness and really current events. And that is hosted by John O'Logan. And then the other week of those 2 weeks is Rhythm Encounter about RPG music, hosted mostly by Mike Salvato. And we've already talked about how you can reach us, or you can reach the podcast. So how can you reach us individually, starting with you, Wes?
You can find me on Twitter at Wes Iliff. That's about it.
Cool. Tyler?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Cosmos Chaos, which is a Xenosaga reference.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And Izzy, how can we find you?
So I don't really do social media. So if
Good for
you,
you.
if you put feedback on one of the official RPG fan social media pages, I'm sure it'll get to me. Someone will tell me about it.
Perfect. And I'm a teacher, so my social media is closed off to everybody. But you can reach me via email, zachw@rpgfan.com, or you can find me on RPG Fans Discord at zachw. And again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I had a blast. I look forward to my team beating all of yours in the coming weeks during the fantasy season. And thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, so much for listening. Good night.